There for this. Let's go.
Welcome back. We had our draft, and our first opening take was thrown right out the window. We do not have to wait for Aaron Rodgers anymore. The deal is done. Breaking news: Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet, and we had to bring ClubFootJim on. He wanted it. He wanted the live stream. The live stream is all for Jimmy. Aaron Rodgers. What's the official trade? What do we got?
Let's see if I could pull it up here. I believe
I've got it here if you'd like.
You got to go for it, all you.
The Jets will receive the 4-time MVP, a 2023 first-round pick, which is weird. The Jets are getting the 15 overall, too, and a fifth-round pick from the Packers in exchange for the first-rounder, which we said they would swap, a second-rounder, and a conditional 2024 second-round pick that can become a first if Rodgers plays 65% of the team snaps or more next season.
Yeah, that's honestly, I mean, the next year conditional second worries me a little bit. I mean, you know, if that means we have to get 2 years out of Aaron Rodgers for it to be worth it. Giving up a first next year for a 39-year-old quarterback is a little scary. Also, I'd like to shout out both of these sides getting this deal done literal minutes after I posted my mock draft and had Jets at 13 and Packers at whatever I had them at. But yeah, appreciate that, guys.
Well, the Jets it'll bite you in the ass next year if he plays 65% of the snaps and you don't make the playoffs, because then you have a top 15 pick that then goes to the Packers.
Yeah.
But if it's a Super Bowl team, whatever, end of first, early second at that point, right? So
right.
whatever the way you want to look at the glass, and you got a Super Bowl out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that pick does scare me a little bit, but I feel like looking at everything besides that pick, it's like a pretty solid deal. I'm satisfied with the pick swap. Part of me was a little worried that it was going to be for straight up a 1, which would have sucked, but the pick swap I can live with, in all honesty. So from an outside sort of perspective from you guys, what are your initial thoughts?
I honestly think that, I mean, the way Jordan was talking about it yesterday, I thought more picks were going to be involved and at least a player or two. And I think a while back when I posted an initial blog of what a trade would look like, I thought you guys were going to be sending over at least a player or two. I guess things changed when the Jets, when Aaron Rodgers pretty much gave no leverage to the Packers, where he's like, I'm either retiring / quitting or you're trading me to New York.
Yeah.
So in that hindsight, I think the Packers finally get to move on from this drama. They can finally say, we're all in on Jordan Love. Let's build. The team is over. The team is now turned. We get some extra draft capital, a first and a second this year. That's no chump change. If they wanted to get a quarterback at 13, they could. They could also just bolster up offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds and build for the future with Jordan Love. And then for the Jets, the laughing stock is now over. Now you just got to get the stuff done.
Yeah, now it's got to put your money where your mouth is here and really just, finally, do something with this, talented young roster and these picks, especially in the last draft that we hit on. And, it's time. Time is now with this. It's a small window and the time is now.
I mean, what are your thoughts with like the overall package? Like, were you hoping for less?
No, I don't think so. I think if you had asked me a month ago when we did that initial sort of Pat McAfee reaction, I would have thought there would have been more involved in terms of like a player, at least like one of our wide receivers would have been sent over. But in hindsight, now you look at the Elijah Moore trade, and that was kind of sort of the pick we needed to secure to make this possible, to make this happen. I mean, I would have thought even Elijah Moore could have been packaged in the initial deal, but now it's just kind of the pick we got for him. So
what was that trade?
To Cleveland Browns for a second, and Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns for a second, and we also gave up a third.
So that second then goes to Green Bay.
I believe so. Yes. I could be wrong on that. It could be our second, but either way, it was always going to be a second round to Green Bay. So it had to be either that one or the other one.
So looking at this now, I mean, realistic expectations with the Jets. Jake and I were talking earlier today saying, the AFC is, I would say, a lighter division in terms of, there's 3 teams that are going to make the playoffs and in the wild card, and it might be 3 teams in the AFC East.
Yeah.
Or 2 teams. It could be it could be all 3 with someone winning the division, right?
Right. Yeah. And no, not a shot at you, Zimmer, but what do you think of the Pats with, their quarterback situation and what's going on with them now?
I don't know. I think, like I said on our mock draft, I'm not necessarily an apologist for Mac Jones, but I think they can do him one by getting an offensive lineman and maybe another solid weapon. I mean, they made visible improvements, I think, to the room. I think basically they get rid of Jacoby Myers and Jonnu Smith and replace it with Juju and Mike Gesicki. I think that's a slight improvement overall.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's anything that's going to make them instant Super Bowl contenders, but I think that there's some framework there, right? You could have a monster year from Juju. Who knows? You could have a monster year from Mike Gesicki if you do the 2 tight end set with Hunter Henry. So
bring Greg Roman in there and let the tight ends fly.
But I think the thing that you're missing on the Pats is that now they have a pretty solid offensive coordinator in
Well, right. And that's the thing. This is why
Bill
I'm
O'Brien.
saying the years, Bill O'Brien, the excuses for Mac Jones are over.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nut up or shut up year. And I thought that was last year, but everybody decided to suck last year. And they had
just bonehead coaching.
Well, I was going to say, right. You put Matt Patricia in his ear, and that's I don't care who's playing quarterback. That's who wants to listen to Matt Patricia call offensive plays? Not me.
I mean, I think you have the funniest quarterback room in the entire NFL. It's
a bunch of Bailey Zappi and Trace McSorley in that.
It's a bunch of white guy memes.
McSorley's there now? I must have missed that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, they're basically just 3 clones of each other.
Recaps on the blog. It is a pretty funny QB room. I'm not ready to move on from Mac Jones yet. I don't think he is the answer necessarily, but I don't think he's negatively contributing to the offense. I think he's made more positive plays than negative ones. So
yeah,
give it a little bit more structure, see what the kid can do.
Bill O.B. was his his college OC, right?
There were talks that Bill O'Brien was actually taught the playbook at Alabama by by Mac Jones.
Interesting. Okay, so
there's rumors that Jones, when O'Brien got canned in Houston and then Saban hired him.
Right.
There's rumors that to get O'Brien up to speed, Mac Jones walked him through the playbook and said, hey, this is what we're doing here and here and here. And O'Brien synthesized it all and came back and said, okay, we're going to improve these areas.
The timelines might not match up here, but that was when Jones was still primarily backing up Tua.
I think you might be right. I don't know about that.
Because then he's primarily the film room quarterback. And so that makes a lot of sense that he was kind of coaching him up there.
Now, we obviously have the draft this week. There's still some small free agent moves or trades that could happen. I guess I'll say this point first. DeAndre Hopkins, I would have money on him going to the AFC East now because I think one of 3 teams will overpay now to make a statement. And those 3 teams are Jets, Pats, and Bills.
You don't think the Dolphins?
I mean, they could be in play, right? I'm not saying
that'd be a crazy wide receiver room.
That'd be a crazy wide. I'm not saying that's out of play, but I'm just now looking at all this stuff on the table. Aaron Rodgers wants a weapon, even though he's kind of forced the hand on being these are the guys I want. And for the most part, the Jets signed them except Odell.
Mm-hmm.
The Pats have obviously always been linked with DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the rumors with the Bills being we need to make a splash, and a Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins 1-2 punch with Josh Allen, who's now single, could be dangerous. Could be dangerous.
We discussed this today.
Interesting.
So that's my money. I think if there was a prop on DraftKings, use code BBB for bonus bets. Shameless plug. If there was a prop of which division DeAndre Hopkins gets traded to, hammer AFC East, in my opinion.
You look at the AFC East now and where it was when the Pats were just kind of dominating the division. The Jets had to trade for a 4-time MVP just to stay afloat and compete in this division, not to win it outright, to just maybe make the playoffs out of this group of and
even that's a maybe, like you said. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let's just look around. So, right? Okay, if we start at the AFC South, it looks like the Jags have that and no one else is going to compete, right? So you already got your division there, no wild cards. You then head to the AFC North where, okay, one of Bengals or Ravens, probably the Bengals win that division. If the Ravens bring back Lamar, that's a wild card team, right? Or flip-flop. I wouldn't say the Browns or Steelers, they could, but they're not jumping out the page at me.
So I could see Steelers just like Mike Tomlin is going to coach them to some more mediocrity, but the Steelers are always going to hang around.
They'll hang around.
Yeah.
So that leads us to now your guys' division, the AFC East, where one of those teams are not making the playoffs. Who's it going to be?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, did you mention the AFC West too?
Yeah, true. The Chargers, if the Raiders get their shit together over there, obviously Kansas City, they should clean that division up. They were calling that the Titan of all divisions last year, right?
Yeah.
They were saying, wow, the Raiders are going to be fucking sick. The Broncos are going to go to the Super Bowl with Russell Wilson.
Well, now we have Sean Payton and Russell Wilson with the Broncos. The Chargers, I think they digress because they had to, move some pieces to make the money work, but they'll always compete.
I think it depends on what you do in the draft too. Like we said, I think they should take a wide receiver, even though James thinks they should take Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
Just not the best, or that's not the worst pick in the world. I think that makes sense. Have another guy with Eckler. You know that a 2 running back system works really well in
Eckler,
LA.
Possibly Eckler out the door too. That's been rumored all offseason.
And that's another one, like with so much running back turnover as well. Like, you saw the Pats move on from Damian Harris. You saw the Cowboys move on from Zeke, which I thought, it was still surprising that they went through with that. I think this was buzzed for a while, but I don't really think everybody was, oh yeah, it makes sense about Zeke. It was kind of like, oh shit, that's actually a crazy move. But there's a lot of running back parity now too.
So, off the cusp, Jets record before the draft.
Jets record before the draft. I think you got to take into consideration how stacked the AFC really is now, even more so. I think an 11-6 is being pretty safe. 10-7, but there's always a possibility the Jets are going to Jets, but. In a normal world with a normal team, this roster would go 11-6, 10-7.
Let's just run. Let's play the game. Here are your opponents, right? At home, Washington.
Win.
At home, well, these are all at home first. Eagles.
Ooh,
it's a loss.
Yeah, I'll say L.
Falcons.
Win.
It's got to be a win.
Chargers.
I'd say win.
Chiefs.
Loss.
Texans.
Win.
Bills.
Home or away?
These are all home.
All these are home? Shit. Okay.
I'm saying, the home ones first.
Oh, right, because the actual schedule itself isn't. Right.
Yeah, they're all home first, and the Giants play the away games.
I want to say a home Bills win just based off of last year, because we still somehow pulled that out of the. Out of nowhere.
So you're going to say a win?
Yeah, I'll say a win there.
Dolphins?
Loss.
Pats?
I'll say a win.
Okay, then away.
What about that?
Away, Cowboys?
Loss.
Giants?
Ooh, I got to be careful here.
I'm
going to say win.
We'll call tie.
Okay, we'll tie. Okay, we'll tie that one. Yeah, we'll
call tie. Broncos?
I think win.
Browns?
Win.
Raiders?
Let's say loss there.
Bills?
Loss.
Dolphins?
Loss.
Pats.
Win. Sorry, Zim.
2-0 against the Pats.
So you're 9-7-1.
9-7-1. Okay.
It was that dude. He said like 14 wins.
We just went through the list.
It did feel like I said a lot of wins, but I know, yeah.
It felt like too many wins.
Yeah, I say Chargers home win. Just like you said, I feel like there's going to be a little bit of regression.
But you know for a fact
and
that
West Coast
one
to
of
East
those
Coast
bad
travel.
teams is going to have a freaky, like weirdly good year. Like,
yeah.
And it depends on how they draft. But right now, I'm looking at the Falcons and saying like that could be a team that comes out and like surprises everybody.
Well, I think they win the NFC South.
That might be a logical thing. Like I think on paper, I personally think the Saints have the higher ceiling. Or excuse me, the higher floor rather.
Higher floor for sure.
They're starting higher than the Falcons are, but like, hey, shit goes right for the Falcons.
Yeah,
and a couple of rookies, get it together.
Getting Calais Campbell in there is awesome for that defense too.
They were talking about that last night with the defense and the secondary. Right. Jeff Okuda's on that team now. Campbell. That's going to be a good defense if they can get the right voices in there.
Yeah. That's been the one thing Arthur Smith hasn't been able to build, and it looks like it's kind of starting to actually come together a little bit. So,
but is 9-7-1 enough to get to the playoffs?
I don't know. That's the thing.
I have no clue. I want to get back to Rodgers though, real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Does this not have shades of Brett Favre?
I mean,
I think it is like identical to it. If you look at just like on paper, what.
And that's that's the only thing that concerns me about this. On paper, Brett Favre, I think, was a little bit older than Rodgers was at this point, but Super Bowl champion, MVP. I think he was a 3-time MVP. Favre comes in, and I don't think, like, what are Jets fans' perceptions of Brett Favre right now? Are you guys like, yeah, he was great?
It was kind of a what if, because he got hurt, if you remember, during that season.
Yeah, that's right.
He did not finish out the year, and it's kind of just still was a what if.
So I'm just looking back. So the Jets obviously traded Brett Favre in 2008. It was a 4th round conditional pick. And at that point, Brett Favre was a Super Bowl champion, a 3-time MVP, 3-time first team All-Pro, offensive player of the year, 3-time second team All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time passing touchdown leader, 2-time passing yard leader, percentage leader, all 90s decade team. Yeah.
But here's the thing with this dude. So I'm reading up on the history because I honestly don't really remember. Like we were really too young to be in the know of what was going on with Brett Favre. So
that was when I was first getting into football. Yeah.
Yeah. So like 2006, right? We can't be more than 10 years old at this point. 2006 comes around and he's floating around retirement. He plays a game against the Bears and they give him a standing O. And then they go back and forth for the next 2 years, him and the Packers. And they're like, you got to retire? Do you want to leave? What do you want to do? And he retires. And then this is 2008. He retires. The summer he calls the Packers up and they say, oh shit, he might come back. So they're talking. He filed for reinstatement. He goes to training camp. And then he meets Mike McCarthy there, and they talk it out, and he doesn't go. They're like, dude, you're too old. You just hang it up, give it a rest. And then he asks for a trade. He says, I want to go play somewhere where they'll appreciate me.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the fucking New York Jets. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, it feels kind of identical. I feel like maybe Green Bay was a little more like, get the fuck out of here with Brett Favre than they were with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
I think it's just because Favre at that point was like, he was definitely on his way out. And I think Rodgers, like if he wanted to, he could still play another solid 5 years in the NFL. That's my opinion.
Rodgers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
bearing injury.
Well, right. If he stays healthy and, and if he wants, like, if his mind and heart are truly in it, I think he could go another 5 years.
Well, he's got it, man. Because our backup's fucking Zach Wilson.
Well, okay. So what happens to Zach Wilson now? Because
that's true.
It was funny. There was always that quote that keeps coming up of, I'm going to, what was it? He was like,
whoever comes in here, I'm going to make life hell for them.
Yeah, he's going to make life hell for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. So the Zach Wilson, like, delusional Billy football pipe dream is that Aaron Rodgers coaches him up and then he's all of a sudden a stud. I think realistically he plays out his rookie contract without a fifth-year option and then maybe floats around the league, probably gets like the Josh Rosen treatment, like gets signed to practice squads here and there, and then it's just see you later. He's coaching high school football.
You better go learn Chinese, buddy. I saw the tweet was better go learn XFLEs, buddy.
Yeah, he'll do the Paxton Lynch tour of just playing every other like subordinate football league.
Oh my god. It'd be a great XFL. Like he could give Cardale Jones a run for his money in DC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jordan Ta'amu and Zach Wilson battling it out.
So if we look back at this this draft, you obviously missed out on what's his name? Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking back to see what would have been a better pick. I mean, hindsight's 2020 because then you wouldn't get Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall likely. But if you guys went back to that 2021 draft, the number 2 overall pick, you guys missed out on Trey Lance.
Wow.
Jamar Chase too.
Kyle Pitts at 4. Jamar Chase at 5. Jalen Waddle at 6. Penei Sewell at 7. J.C. Horn at 8.
You wanted Sewell for the Jets, right, James?
I liked Sewell for a while. Yeah. I liked him, and last year I liked Icky. I liked the Kwanu a lot too for the Jets.
Well, the list gets worse. Patrick Surtain at 9. Devontae Smith at 10. Justin Fields at 11.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons at 12.
Yeah, Parsons.
Rashawn Slater at 13. Then you guys had your next pick, Elijah Vera Tucker.
Which I still like.
And then it was Mac Jones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, Joe Douglas masterclass.
I'm not sure I would have done much different if I were the Jets, like in that position, though. Like, you need a quarterback at that point. Who was the quarterback before them? Why am I blanking?
Sam Darnold.
Before Wilson. Huh?
Darnold.
Oh, Darnold. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was Sam Darnold. So you've got to move on from him. I mean, like, Mac Jones was not an option at 2. That's far too much of a reach. I think maybe Lance, they could have got. How history would have been different if Trey Lance went to the Jets and stayed healthy.
I mean, Zach Wilson would be on like a Brock Purdy trajectory right now.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, maybe New England would have ended up with Zach Wilson too.
Maybe, yeah. But I think if you're going to play the hindsight game, I think that pick there has got to be Justin Fields. Just from what he can do as more than just a passer. And if you look at that group of, was it 5 quarterbacks taken? Of the 5 quarterbacks taken, Justin Fields, I mean, after last year, is he the second best out of that group? Did he overtake Mac Jones? I think there's an argument for it.
I would say there's an argument. I think, well, probably I'll have enough to say that after this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, again, sort of Fields is in the same deal. It's like, all right, you're going to put him around fucking N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
And expect him to make these big plays. Like,
yeah. Kendrick Bourne. He's actually not bad, though.
Well, I'm talking about Fields. Like, Bourne still.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah.
New England, I'm less worried about. They have they have some weapons now. I think things are going to be okay.
Yeah, they have a guy who knows offense.
They have a coach that's helpful. A
guy
generally that knows what he's doing. That's pretty helpful.
Who was it? Was it Judge?
Joe Judge was an offensive
also calling plays.
assistant.
Yeah, he was also calling plays a little bit.
That guy was buns.
I think he should. I think his position should be the 6th floor of Gillette Stadium this year.
Joe Judge, and that's the most infuriating part about. Like, listen, yes, I'm a Giants fan, but I respect Bill Belichick and I respect the Patriot way. It's bullshit and disgusting how much stock people put in about the Patriot way, because look at his coaching tree down the line. Matt Patricia, awful. And then he comes back and now he's useless. I think he just accepted a job somewhere else.
He's a defensive assistant somewhere.
Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles. Yeah.
Joe Judge, they brought him in. They go, this guy knows his stuff. And now, like, he goes to the Giants and he was atrocious. He was making people run laps like we were in junior varsity, you know? Now, I will say the other side of the coin, Brian Daboll is a product in some regard, but I'm going to give that to Nick Saban over Bill Belichick.
I was good, but Nick Saban is a product of the Belichick tree. So,
if you look at the trees like deep enough, it gets so like meta and just like every which way somebody has a connection.
There's been some good, like, I get that, Tondo, but that's a lot of recency bias in my opinion too, because this dude has been around for 90 billion years. You know, like Eric Mangini, McDaniels is a guy. Mangini kind of sucked. I get it. And so I get it. Romeo Crennel.
I would say Bill O'Brien was doing just fine until they also made him GM. And that's when he kind of fucked everything up.
He should not have been doing that. They put him in a position to fail. But
yeah.
I mean, the Texans had some juice for a while.
They had a good 3-year run. Yeah, when Deshaun was just
1 year, no?
2 years. They won the division 2 years in a row.
That's right.
Yeah. I think it was Deshaun's second and third year.
I feel like the playoffs were always, for like a long period of time, it was Bengals, Texans, and it was just boring. And that was like Andy Dalton Bengals with Marvin, who was the head coach?
Marvin Lewis.
Lewis.
Yeah.
And then it was the Texans with J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson, Arian Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
David
that
Johnson for a while towards the end.
Yeah. But it was always first round, mid playoff, and then
it was always a Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah,
that was the one game that ESPN got was that shit game.
Yeah.
Or like I remember one year I think it was like the Titans Bills, and it was just like before the Bills really were anything. It was just gross.
I don't know, the Texans, like, I'm not ready to give up on Nick Caserio. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he's going to pick the quarterback that they need, which I think is going to be Will Levis still. I'm going to stand by that.
It's getting a lot of smoke today.
Yeah.
About him going number 2 overall.
I've been seeing some TikToks. A lot of Will Levis to the Texans TikToks.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's getting a lot of steam. But I think they can Jack Easterby, which they needed to do. He's a chaplain and a character coach, and I get it. He was critical to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in New England. The New Hampshire Patriots. I hate that. It doesn't sound good. But Jack Easterby was the root of a lot of problems in Houston. That's what the reputation is.
Yeah, I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
But I do like Caserio.
I think he's making the right moves. I think he's understanding this first year is like, okay, what the hell's even in our arsenal? Is Davis Mills good? Which he's not. They found out.
Unfortunately.
Do we have any other that Pierce kid, that running back, who actually had a pretty decent year?
Damian Pierce was a hit.
Yeah. So they're going to make. I think the Texans can prime themselves for another run in a couple of years. I really do.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong there.
So, any closing thoughts?
Brett Favre. I just keep coming back to that. It's.
Yeah.
This is either going to end with Aaron Rodgers with another Super Bowl ring, or it's going to end like Brett Favre, and I don't think there's any room in between.
I'm going to read a tweet from one of the Jets beat reporters that I follow. Let's see, where's he at? This is bad. You can cut this, right? Set a reminder for 2038.
A live video.
Set a reminder for 2038. That's when Jordan Love will be 39 and will demand a trade to the Jets.
Oh.
So we're just in these never-ending cycles that are just going to repeat themselves.
Well, for your sake and Basil's sake, I hope this isn't the butt end of a joke, but knowing the Jets and knowing Aaron Rodgers' antics, we'll be laughing at the end of the year.
Yeah, it'll be good content.
LOL Jets, baby.
LOL Jets. Well, we'll be back for some more football content and signing off. Congratulations, ClubFootJim, and the Aaron Rodgers saga is finally complete.
Thank God. All right. Appreciate it, fellas.
Maybe it's just starting.